Today on none other than That's Classic, we have Ronnie Schell, the famous actor from Gomer Pyle, as well as many other productions and variety shows, and you name it. Ronnie's done it. Nightclubs. That's right. Well, like I said, you name it, Ronnie's done it.
That's where it all started, John.
Yeah.
I always mention that I started in nightclubs, which is true, and that's where I got my experience. I worked for 50 years, 50, in Las Vegas. Did you know that?
Wow.
Well,
Yeah.
usually opening for big name singers, because in those days they don't do that anymore. But in those days, you would have a big name singer like Glenn Campbell or somebody like that, and they'd always have a comedian to open. And I was premier picked.
Oh my gosh.
These great guys, Tony Bennett, Carol Burnett, all the singers. The only ones I never worked with were Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin, and I didn't want to because I was a little apprehensive about his reputation.
Yeah, the intimidation would be there. I
Exactly.
can understand that totally. Well, I'll tell you what, Ronnie, today, so what I've done is I've reached out to the fans and they of Gomer Pyle, and they have sent in all different questions, and we'll see which ones that you can answer and you can't. But I think before we even get going, by the way, I would love to mention, obviously your son Greg is a very close friend of mine, and he is producing the now Mayberry Man, the series. And
he's doing fantastic.
Yeah. Are you excited about possibly being part of this series?
Well, yes, I am. He hasn't come to tell me exactly what I'm going to do, but whatever it is, I will do my best. It's based on, as you know, Mayberry Man is based on the Andy Griffith show, but not really the show itself, but the get-together that they have every year up in North Carolina, and it's smash hit every year. It's a little town in North Carolina, but they have like 35,000 people there for 4 days, and they do all this kind of celebrating. And Greg co-produced the first Mayberry Man, which is runs about a half hour, and it's really good little story. It's now on Amazon. Amazon something.
Amazon Prime.
That's it. He's on Amazon Prime and doing very well. And now they're going to do a second one. He's co-producing with two other gentlemen, and now they're going to do a second one starting in September.
Gotcha. And Ronnie, will you be at Mayberry Days this year?
Yes, I go every year. This is going to be my 7th year in a row, and I think I'm one of the few acts left from the original movie. I think, even Karen Knotts, I don't know if she was ever in the Andy Griffith show, but she still comes. And this year we're having Ruta Lee, who's quite an extensive career in acting, and so we're going to have some fun. And I've been asked if I would be in one of the scenes at the parade. They have a parade every year. And I said, yeah, I'd like to. So
okay, very cool.
If my union okays it, I'll be there.
They're always there for you, Ronnie. So I'll tell you what, we'll start off with our first question. This is from Catherine, and I won't say their last names, even though a lot of them supplied it, just because I don't know if they want their last name on there. But anyway,
where's she from?
Yeah, Catherine. You know what? I don't know where Catherine's from. I didn't write down where they were all from.
That's all right.
But Catherine says, what were your most embarrassing, funniest, and most cherished moments while you filmed Gomer Pyle U.S.M.C?
Cherish. Well, embarrassing and cherished doesn't go together.
Right. Agreed.
My most cherished moments were when I had the leads. The whole half hour was braced around me, which was not originally designed for the Gomer Pyle show. It was just supposed to be the sergeant and Gomer. And then as I snuck my way into series, they finally started giving me a whole half hour to do my thing, and that's one of the most cherishing. Embarrassing. I never was really that embarrassed. I didn't care.
Right.
I just wanted to have fun, and nothing really embarrassed me.
Yeah. Okay. That works for me. Our next question is from Sydney. He says, let's say I want to write a book.
Yeah.
How do I contact you for an interview? Thanks in advance. What would he need to go through to get to you?
Go to John Cato.
Okay.
So I'm giving it to you, John.
All right, that works for me. I can pass it along something.
By the way, I wanted to tell you that I just got a whole batch of new. I do this new 8x10 photos of the Gomer Pyle show with pictures with me and Sgt. and Carol Burnett and all the guests. And if anybody wants to get some, it's a nominal fee, but I'll be glad to personally sign it. And how you I'm writing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you can get contact for these wonderful photos by contacting online the real Ronnie Schell on Facebook. That's one of them. And the other way is ronnieschell.com.
Okay.
If anybody would like to get some updated pictures that have never before been published, contact you and you contact them, and we can work something out.
Okay, that sounds great. I think a lot of people listening to the podcast are going to be thrilled to hear that.
No,
That's very cool. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll put it out there, and well, when they hear that, I'm sure they'll go to those. So I'm glad you mentioned that. That's huge. Here's our next question. This is from Ron.
Ron.
Ron, hello, Ron.
Oh, Rod. Okay.
Ron. Yeah, not Rod. Okay. When you returned as Corporal Slater,
yes.
How did you adjust the Duke character? Did you have a deliberate strategy?
Well, from the very beginning of the Gomer Pyle show, they had a strategy of my character. You see, the producer, genius named Aaron Rubin, put Gomer and the Sgt. Together, but they were bigger than life, right? So they needed somebody, a viewer, to represent the people that are watching.
Mm-hmm.
So I was the normal guy in that trio, and but I sneaked a lot of comedy in there that Aaron didn't anticipate, and he said, "Oh well, let's use him." That's how I got it. But I was originally just a straight character, and my most treacherous comment would be, "Oh, come on, Gomer, don't do that." Or, "Sergeant, I don't know how this happened." I was representing the viewer, but that seemed to be a success. It was for 5 years.
Oh, heck yeah. And so was that comedy on your part deliberate, or was it just kind of organic? It's just kind of who
Organic.
you are?
I think organic.
Yeah.
I just would be asked to do things, and I do it. But if something humorous came up, I would insert it. And for the most part, they let it happen.
Yeah. Boy, did they. Okay. And then Sheila. Sheila says, did you get to keep any props from Gomer Pyle?
I have some. Yeah, I have some scripts, original scripts, which a lot of people are dying to buy from me, but I haven't let them go yet. But yeah, so that's probably the only thing. All the uniforms and everything like that were returned because I wasn't a real Marine.
Right. You dressed it well, though. I've had a lot of fans say that were in the services say, you represented it so well.
Well, I followed the functions of military because prior to the Gomer Pyle show, in fact, about 8 years prior, served in the United States Air Force, active duty for 4 years. Mm-hmm. So I knew military. Then later on, I just said, I'm now in the Sissy Marines, where I would work from 8 to 5 and then take off my makeup and go home.
Oh yeah.
I did it. I did adapt the rules from my military experience.
That's awesome. I've got, as we go along, actually, there's a couple of references from with the Air Force, but I'll go question to question. We'll figure her out. Okay. This is from Yvonne. What was it like acting next to Jim Nabors?
Well, Jim was actually like an older brother to me. He was 2 years older, and I've said this before, but I have to, and in the business, this is a tough thing to say, but it's true.
Mm-hmm.
I never met anyone who had absolutely no enemies other than my wife, God bless her, and Jim Nabors. They were universally loved, and nobody ever said anything, negative about him. And so it was very easy to work with him. And he was always great to me and gave me a lot of funny things to do. And I know I had his sense of humor. I mean, he liked my sense of humor. And we also traveled on the road during the off season doing concerts. Jim was a great singer.
Oh, incredible.
And so I would go along and open for him, do a half hour. And that went very well. We did that for 5 years, the whole time.
Were you and your relationship then off camera, was it like two buddies, or what was that like?
Yeah, we're like buddies, but I got married after a while and went into the marital life, and he didn't get married till much later, but he did his own thing. He was so popular. They'd always have a party, and he would be the recipient of awards and things. They just love him.
Yeah, and still do today. Yeah. It's true. Okay, this is from Teresa. How did you stop yourself from laughing while you were filming Gomer Pyle, and how long was your workday?
Okay, our workday was usually from 8 a.m. to 6.
Nice.
I would arrive early, and then we go into makeup, and then we do the show, and or not do the show, but do the filming. And it was a one-camera show,
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we didn't do 3 cameras like Lucy and all those other shows. And another show I did, Good Morning World. But it was pretty slow. It'd take a week to do a half hour.
Wow.
And so I hope that answers that.
Yeah. Well, I guess the other part she was wondering is, did you ever have an issue where you just couldn't stop laughing, where they had to do take after take?
When I do I'm down to doing 5 or 6 personal appearances a year now. I was just last month, I was in Cincinnati. By the way, Cincinnati, a great little town. I'd never worked Cincinnati before, and I did 2 concerts there, and I got 2 standing ovations, which I was very proud of.
Wow.
But my point was that I show 20 minutes outtakes, which sort of answers your question.
Yeah.
You see me, you see Sergeant, you see Gomer, you see Kel Burnett, flub their lines, and usually they laugh or say, "I'm up." That's the standard thing. When you're like the sergeant would come in, I tell you right now that I'm up, meaning I know what the line is. So if you see me in person, you'll see all I do. I show these outtakes all the time.
When those moments were happening, would it get to be hard to literally keep a straight face and maintain?
There's one, I think it was the record. Frank, not me. Frank did 32 takes on which is in the flubs of one simple line. I can't remember the exact line, but he ends up saying something like something about an order that he was trying to test me on.
Yeah.
And he flubbed it 32 times. Then he finally got it right.
That's a lot of
And
tape.
it's on the camera that I have,
Oh, that's
the
funny.
film that I have.
Wow. Wow.
So come and see me and I'll let you look at that outtake.
Oh, Ronnie, if you're ever in LA, obviously I'm going to go, especially if Greg tells me,
Well, John, thank you. I very, very, very seldom work in LA anymore because when I first started in the business, that's where I primarily worked, LA and San Francisco and Vegas. And I just thought, after a while, I'd like to spread it out across the country. And so I very rarely, well, most of the clubs that I worked in LA are gone.
Yeah.
There was the Coconut Grove, which was very famous.
Yeah.
I worked there with the Kingston Trio, and that was a month recording work, and they closed. And
wow.
There was a famous club called the Crescendo on Sunset Boulevard, and I worked there for a month, and they're gone. They're all gone.
Wow. Wow.
My favorite was a little club in Hollywood called Cosmo Alley. You wouldn't know it, but
no.
That's where I worked with a lot of what would you call them? Stars that later came on, usually in jazz. People like Maya Angelou. Remember Maya Angelou?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Well, I worked with her. Well, actually, I worked with her in San Francisco too, but I worked with her and this little place called Cosmo Alley. And it was a jazz joint, but they had entertainment. Lenny Bruce owned it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really fun.
Wow.
So I don't work LA anymore.
No, you know what? I think I might have been at one of your last performances. I think it was when you did Yarmy's Army.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
I think I was there, and for the life of me, I cannot remember that theater that you were at. But anyway, that was a wonderful night. That was a wonderful
could have
night.
been on. Could have been Could have been in Beverly Hills.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that was. I did 3 there, 3 years in a row because I was being loyal to the Yarmy's guys who wanted to do some benefits, and it worked great.
No, that was a blast. You kidding me? I was thrilled to be able to go. Okay, here's our next question. This is from Asante. Why did Roy Stuart leave? That's the first question.
Why did he what?
Why did he leave?
My fault. My fault. We remained good friends afterwards. But what happened was when I left to do another show called Good Morning World the 3rd year.
Yeah.
My manager, Dick Link, who also managed Jim and Andy Griffith and Ken Berry and people like that.
Yeah.
Well, when Good Morning World was not a huge hit, he said, my manager said, well, we'll bring you back. And I said, well, where? He said, well, I'll talk to Roy. Exit Roy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I felt very bad, but he was very nice about it. Roy was an exceptional actor. If you want to watch some of those, he always did his job well. I took his place.
I got you.
4th or 5th year, and but I made sure that anytime I was doing another show, I would recommend him, and I did a couple of specials for ABC, and we got him, and then tragically he passed away.
Oh,
lung cancer, not
wow.
lung cancer, tongue cancer.
Oh my gosh.
Very sad ending, but he was a good guy.
Yeah, great. Did and the other question part of this is should Duke have, this is more of a he laughs out loud on this one, by the way, but he says, should Duke have ended up with Luann instead of Gomer? What do you think?
I should have. If you watch those 3 or 4 episodes, I was really the ideal for her.
Right.
Why she wouldn't go with the sergeant because he was overbearing.
Right.
Gomer was really overly nice, and I was just normal, and she still kicked me out and went with the if you see the series, she says, Duke, that was my character.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I like to think of you, and I was preparing for as a brother. And I went, brother? That's where I was with Luann Poovey.
Oh, is that funny? That's a great one.
She ended up with him during the last two series. He's still alive.
Oh, Luann is?
Yeah, she lives in North Carolina, and we've been trying to get her to come and do. She did a couple of shows, concerts around the country, where she always sings off key and everything like that.
Yeah.
But, excellent actress. If you see Gunsmoke and those early shows,
Sure.
she was on those a lot.
No, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Talk about
great lady.
Yeah, that's another great show too. Okay.
Yeah, I never miss it.
Yeah, exactly. It's still good,
Yeah.
Ran forever. Okay.
Still running out here.
Oh yeah, I know. It's still going.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
1 o'clock.
Yeah. Is it Me TV?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Me TV's a savior for all us old guys.
Oh my gosh.
I'll turn up on Happy Days. I did 3 of those.
Oh wow.
I did one Golden Girls.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, or I thought for me, when I read the script, it said that I ended up with B. And I thought, oh, come on, I'm too young for her. Guess what? I ended up with B.
That's hysterical. Oh my God. Who, by the way, who'd you play on Happy Days? I've had Henry Winkler on the show as well. I'm just curious.
Well, the first 2, I was a bomb. People used to buy bombs for their house. Not bombs, but
bomb shelters.
Bomb shelter, yeah.
Yeah.
Bomb shelter. And another time I was looking for an actor, a Shakespearean actor, and I was a director. And the third one I don't remember, but they tell me that I did 3. I was on that, and then I did 3 emergencies. Remember Emergency?
Oh, sure. In fact, one of the fans wrote in and said, I just saw Ronnie on Emergency.
That's right. I did 3.
Yeah.
And that was fun. Those 2 guys were great. And I did practically everything. I did not Golden Girls, but the other girls.
Shoot, I should know because Greg and I were there working at the time.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah, Golden Palace.
No, that's a good guess. No, they were like detectives. 3 of them.
Yeah, I can't remember. That's so funny.
But you can see them on. You can see me on there. I played their. They did a marathon, and I was their coach.
Oh my gosh!
And then I was on. You name it, I probably was on.
Oh, you were on so many things. It's incredible. I've looked at your resume. Believe me, it's been a ton. Okay, here we go. Here's another question. Tim sends this in. What was it like working with Barbara Stuart?
Special. She was great. She had a sad love life. Her boyfriend to be dumped her right when we were doing all these shows, and so she was quite hurt by that. But she amazed a great amazed. Is that the right amazed? She got a lot of credits.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
She's in Airplane. You remember Airplane? I do. You remember when they went to Robert Stack's house to get him? And the woman at his wife was Barbara Stuart, and the dog kept jumping on the kid, and she didn't do anything about it. That was Barbara. She originally did Gomer on the 6th episode, the first year, and it was called Gomer Pyle and I forget what name they had for her, but she had a different name. But then she came back as what was her name on the show?
I'd have to look it up, to be honest with you.
No, I'll have it in a minute.
Yeah.
But she, Bunny.
Bunny. Yeah.
She ended up being Bunny for the rest of the 5 years. And then unfortunately, she passed of Alzheimer's disease.
Oh, it's such a hard one.
She was too young. Too young.
Yeah.
I always had great feelings for her.
Wow. Wow. That's great. That's great. I'm really glad that question came in. Here's our next one. This is from Karen. And it's a general one, but maybe you can add. Did Ronnie enjoy working on the show?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For several reasons. Number one, it was a weekly paycheck.
Yeah.
Number two, it was a big hit.
Mm-hmm.
It was never out of the top 10 in the Nielsen ratings, when Nielsen ratings were very important in those days. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, we were all in a hit, and it was hit right to the very end, and very enjoyable, very enjoyable.
Great. This is one that I received from Holly. Now, Holly is a family member of Frank Sutton's. Her dad was Frank's first cousin, and she has a series of questions. So I think we have time, actually. Did Frank ever talk offset about his family back home from Tennessee?
Yes, he was very loyal to his family in Tennessee, and you know, he was Southern boy. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that, but you know, he talked about the family a lot, and he had a lovely wife, Toby, and had 3 kids, and they have a statue in his hometown of him, but I can't remember it. I think it's in Missouri.
I've seen the statue. I mean, online.
Tennessee or Missouri.
Yeah.
And, he was proud of that. No, I guess he wasn't, because he had passed away.
Right. But he would have been, I'm sure.
He would have been very proud.
Oh, yeah.
He died quite young.
Yeah.
He died at, I think 60.
Mm-hmm.
And he was working, the way I found out, he was working in Shreveport, Louisiana, and he was doing a play. Mm-hmm. You know, he did a lot of plays. Mm-hmm. He was on Broadway and did a Broadway show. And he was in the rehearsal room, and he keeled over. But, you know, I hate to say this, but he was class A. He smoked. Tell your relative of his. Mm-hmm. He smoked too much. He smoked like 18 Brazilian cigars every day.
Wow.
He inhaled. And about 24 cups of black coffee. Continually had coffee with him at all times. So wow. He was really a class A.
Yeah, I get it.
He was like the sergeant, you know, uptight. And
yeah. Did he, the other question, she asked a couple here. Did his wife Toby ever do an actual episode of Gomer Pyle that you know? No. Okay. Did he genuinely enjoy his role of Sergeant Carter?
Yes. I think if he had his druthers, he would have been more of the character that he played. I mean, he did a good, but he always had this feeling that he could do more, and he probably could have. But it was Jim's show, and the producers always aimed toward satisfying Jim's woes and whatever.
Mm-hmm. Well, sure.
Yes, in answer to your question, yeah, because he would say sometimes, well, I could have added this to the thing, but I didn't, because I wasn't. And he and Jim got along great. Mm-hmm. They never fought. Well, I told you, Jim never had any enemies, and so they ended up being friends to his passing.
Wow.
And Jim's passing.
Did you, this is her other question, which I'm also, I guess, in general curious about. Did everyone genuinely get along on the set?
Yes. Yeah, there were I'm trying to think there were some Well, occasionally you'd have people that had tough reputations, and they'd give a little bit of it. Case in point was the guy who played the guy with. Are we off? Are we still on?
We're still on. Yeah, you're doing great. Yeah.
Can't think of his name. He directed some of the Gomer Pyles, but he could be a pain in the butt, but he wasn't for us. One of the characters outside of the area where Andy Griffith lived, Mayberry.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
but generally, I can't think of anybody that didn't get along with it.
Sounds good. Yeah. Did all of you think that it would be as successful of a TV show as it was?
No, we had no idea. And when we got that first rating, we were rambunctious. We go, oh my God, we're number one.
Wow.
We never, we always were the number one show on our time slot. And even when we went into, after 5 years, we got canceled, not because of ratings, but because Jim wanted to sing more.
Right.
And so he said, this is the last year of Gomer Pyle. So CBS didn't want to let him go, so they signed him to do the Jim Nabors Hour, which was a variety show. And they brought me along, and they brought Frank along, and we did 2 years there, and we were a big hit. We were bigger than any CBS variety type show. But the vice president, a new vice president, Freddie Silverman.
Oh, famous.
Yeah. He said, I don't want any more Hick shows on my network. So he thought, I guess Gomer was a Hick show, and he took that off. He took off Petticoat Junction. He took off any show that dealt with
I think Green Acres got taken out of there, and
same year.
Beverly Hillbillies. Yeah.
Absolutely. Those were all cut at the same time. And I know that we didn't need to be cut because we were number one in our time slot.
Wow, that's just crazy.
Sad.
Really sad. Really sad. Yeah.
I had to go out and get a job.
Yeah, I mean, come on, Ronnie.
Come on. Well, that's why.
It is.
I went back on the road.
All right. This is from Ian. What was your favorite episode of Gomer Pyle?
Well, there were a lot of them.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite was Duke Slater nightclub comic, because I got a chance to get up on stage and do these terrible impressions, which I was never good at. And but I had the whole half hour, and that was probably my favorite. I also did one the first year where the sergeant ordered Jim to get him some cigars. And on the way to pick up the cigars, I drove him, and I said, I got to stop by and see my girlfriend. She's an airline stewardess. And so we went out, and the girl incidentally was an actress named Karen Sharp, who ended up marrying in real life great director. He directed a lot of Academy Award stuff. I can't think of his name. Anyway, that was one of my favorites, because we got up to the plane, and we saw the sergeant getting out of the car, coming up to see somebody off, some military gun, and so we hid in the plane, and we ended up taking a whole weekend, England, Italy, and France, and got back in time to give the sergeant his cigars. That was one.
That's a great one.
A lot of them were fun, but that was one of the fun.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Another question from Ian was, was there any favorite behind the scenes memories or stories that you hold dear?
Well, not specifically. I remember a lot of times Jim and I would stand at attention, because we were always standing at attention.
Yeah.
And occasionally, this happened a couple of times. At one time, we were standing at attention, and all of a sudden, we heard this. We didn't know what it was, but we burst out laughing, and we laughed about 12 takes. We didn't find out what the noise was, but things like that would happen occasionally, and we had so much fun. It was so much fun. Then Jim once had these birds, and the birds. This one bird loved him, and when we were standing at attention, the bird would stand on his head.
Oh no!
Him and Jim's head, and poop every time. And of course, then it was no doing a scene for the next 10 takes.
Oh, that's hysterical. What are the chances?
I think I had that on my outtakes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Oh my God, I love that. Okay, our next one is from Jeff. Jeff says, well, he wrote a bit here, but he says, I've heard you say before that one of your favorite moments in your career was when you returned to the Gomer Pyle series in 1968. Yeah. How did you find out you were going to go back to that series? Did you find out when you were working on Good Morning World, or was it your future uncertain when that series was not picked up?
My future was uncertain, but I had this manager, Dick Link, who was associate producer of the Gomer Pyle show. And early on, I said, "Look, Dick, you got to give me my job back, because this Good Morning World's not going to make it." And so I knew ahead of time I was going to be.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Good Morning World was sort of ahead of its time. We were opposite Tuesday night at the movies when when they were just starting first run movies on NBC, and we were CBS. So it got to where everybody in America on Tuesday night would say, "Well, who are we going to watch tonight? Ronnie Schell or Cary Grant?"
Right. Oh yeah.
So they always beat us in the ratings. So we were sort of doomed to be canceled. But we had fun while we were doing it. I had this young lady who was a go-go dancer out of Baltimore.
Uh-huh.
I think you know who I'm talking about.
I know who it is, yeah. Goldie Hawn.
Huh?
Goldie Hawn.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
She was a go-go dancer, and she came to LA and did one performance on a special by Andy Griffith. She was just a dancer, and the producers loved her personality and put her on the show playing my girlfriend. And the first 3 weeks, this is sort of funny. She was doing her lines and everything, but she didn't like to rehearse too much. She thought it would be overdoing it.
Yeah.
And so after about the third week, I said, "Goldie, you got to watch me. I am a star. I've been a star for 3 years, and I know what I'm doing. You don't like to rehearse. Well, that's not good. You're never going to make it. Just watch me from now on." The end of that year, she won the Academy Award for Cactus Flower.
Right.
I found out while working some toilet in Omaha, and she never let me forget it.
Oh, that's so funny. Did you stay in touch with her like over time? Or?
Yes. Well, we had her husband. I don't know if they ever officially got married, but I did my first Disney movie starring her husband,
Kurt Russell. Yeah.
The Strongest Man in the World.
Yeah.
I played the referee at the end where he wins.
I saw it. Yeah. You were great. No, that was funny as heck. I loved it.
I always did my parts well. I know that. I don't know why, but it was easy for me.
Yeah. Well, my God, you know what, Ronnie, I gotta, as a segue, whatever, I gotta say, every time I watch you, you look like you're having fun.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah. I think that might have been part of the magic, is you were enjoying it.
I think you're right. Even shows that I thought were going to be tough, like the ones with where I played the mayor of New York. Can't think of his name. Anyway,
Yeah.
I
Even if they
felt
were
fun.
tough, you enjoyed them.
You know this guy.
Yeah.
It was NBC. Oh well.
Yeah, well, either way, but I can always tell. I could always tell. I've seen you in so many things. I'm like, doggone it, he just enjoys himself. You can
Yeah.
just tell, and that translates.
I did. I would be honest with you. I enjoyed
Okay.
every moment of it. And it was so far ahead of where I ever thought I was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because I never planned on being a big star.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to do this in my name fathers. I never planned on being a big star, and the way my career worked out, satisfied.
Yeah.
I never did become a big star, but I got to a level where it was enough that I got my kicks and my money and all the nice recipients of good reviews and things like that. So I never really had a bad experience in show business. I originally wanted to be a professional baseball player, but that didn't work out. I was a great hitter, and I played in college and semi-pro out in Northern California. But I was, I was shorter then, and believe it or not, I've grown since then.
Yeah.
And I was a very great hitter, but slow of foot.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't run, you're not going to be short. All the short guys were fast.
Right. Right.
So I never made it as a baseball player, but I had fun.
Yeah. Well, hey, we wouldn't be sitting here talking with you about Gomer Pyle if you'd have made it as a baseball player. So I'm thankful. I'm thankful that worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to our next question, Ronnie. Here we go. This is from David.
David, okay.
Yeah. Did you learn Gomer and Sergeant Carter's impersonations on the fly, or were you already an impersonator?
No, I learned it on the fly, and they weren't good. I'll be honest with you. If you look back, they're complimenting me on some bad impressions. I did the Jimmy Cagney, "You dirty rat," that type of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I did Sergeant, move it, move it, move it. But I never really was a good impressionist. Gomer, I almost got, but not quite. Go, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, so that was sort of easy, even though it wasn't right on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I do. Okay. Yeah. Well, once again, you had so much fun with it that the audience enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did 3 or 4 episodes where I did my impressions, and I impressed Gomer.
Right.
He thought I was a genius.
Well, hence how funny can it be? I love it. So who do you know who came up with the name Duke Slater?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It turned out that after about the 3rd year, I found out that there was a real person named Duke Slater. He was an African American athlete from the Midwest, and he set some records. That's all I knew about it. His name was Duke Slater.
That's interesting because I know that I'm not sure if it was this gentleman or somebody had written and said that there was a wrestler that he was curious if it had been named after. So I don't know.
I don't know about that, but I know Duke Slater was sort of famous in the Midwest as a Olympic athlete.
Interesting. This is from Carol. Did you start your comedy act in the Air Force? And do you happen to remember my father, Tom Stanley, who went on to be a pilot?
Very, very possibly. Because when I was in the first time after I got out of basic training, I was sent to a base where all these guys, I was in the minority, were going to be pilots. So I met all these guys, and so I could have, the name sounds familiar. But is he still around?
I don't believe so.
Oh.
I don't believe so. I off top of my recollection, I believe she had written that he was not. But and where was that? Where was that? Where all those pilots were? Where
that was a base that's no longer there. It was in Sherman, Texas,
Okay.
Sherman Denison, and it was called Perrin Air Force Base, Perrin. And I was there for about a year until I worked up a nightclub act and got out of KP, so I could do these shows. And all these guys were cadets, would-be pilots.
Did you? So you did work up your act then in the Air Force, huh?
Yeah, well, what happened was I emceed a couple of shows in the service club, at Perrin, and so somebody, I don't know who it was, God bless him, said, listen, the Air Force needs a singer, not a singer, a comedian, to fill in for the intermissions from the United States Air Force dance band. It's called the Airmen of Note. And so they hired me to do it, and I stayed on for quite a while doing their, whenever there's an intermission, I would open for them. We were all over the place. Bermuda.
Really?
It was very, and that band was sensational. A lot of guys came out of there. The only one I remember that later on was, you remember Tommy Newsom?
Oh, of course. The Tonight Show.
You got it.
Yeah.
He was a member of the Airmen of Note, and I got to know him pretty well.
Wow. So you actually, not only did they bring you on to do the like MC or whatever, but you got to travel with them all over I mean, you went to Bermuda? Yes. Wow.
But I didn't travel with them every time, but every time they were on the road. But every once in a while, when they thought it was going to be special, they would call me in, and I worked very well with them. I even remember the guy in charge, Fred Kempner. He was a conductor, and every time they'd say, "Let's get Ronnie."
Wow.
So I did a number of shows. That went on for almost a couple of years.
Wow, that's fantastic.
I've been very fortunate, I'll be honest with you. I've escaped a lot of KP.
Yeah.
And got a lot of out of doing a lot of hard jobs if I would sing, and not sing, but perform.
Right. Wow. Hey, by the way, could you sing or not?
Yeah, I can carry a voice. I can carry a tune.
Wow, that's fantastic.
In fact, I did a show for 4 years in Palm Springs called "Don't Leave It All to Your Children." We went to New York. We were off Broadway for 6 months, and it was a cast of 6 people. And at the end of the 6 months, I wanted to leave. I don't know why, but I left. But the guy in charge there said, "You're the only one that never sings off key."
Wow.
And that was a thrill for me. So yeah, I didn't have a great voice, but
wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's a gift. Believe me, I can't carry a tune worth a darn, so I respect that. So this comes from Linda. Linda says, "What was Jim Nabors like as a friend?"
Great, very loyal. I guess it wasn't until probably the last 8 years of his life that he came out.
Yes, I remember that.
He was gay, and but never was overbearing and come on, let's go dance or something like that with me. And he knew that I knew, and he had a lot of great friends. He had one long affair with Rock Hudson.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that he had an affair with Rock Hudson. Wow.
Yeah, and Rock would come up and see our shows. I got to tell you, now I'm straight as anybody can be, but Rock was the handsomest man I ever met in my life, and the nicest guy. But that was a long time love affair with him. Then he finally moved to Hawaii and met a guy who was a ex fireman from Detroit, and they got married and lived happily ever after.
Yeah. Were you always pretty close with Jim over the years?
Yeah, he knew I knew, and every once in a while he'd take me aside and say, "Look at this. You know, I've had more heterosexuals get divorced than any homosexual I ever met in my life," and so he would defend, you know, his being.
Yeah.
He was not overbearing, and he wasn't, you know, guy on the street saying, "Hey, Slater." You know,
right.
Right.
I gotcha. Okay. This is from Ron, another Ron. How was your relationship with Danny Thomas and Sheldon Leonard?
I worked on 2 shows with Danny Thomas. One was, he did a series right after his big series where he played a doctor, and I never had much talk with him other than the weeks that I worked in these shows. I think he co-produced Gomer Pyle. So he was around during it, and I got along with him good. Sheldon Leonard was special. He was really great genius of comedy, and we had one thing in common: we both smoked cigars. So whenever we were around a lot, he was, "Now let's go have a cigar."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, he was also old Hollywood too. I mean, yeah.
Well, you were working in the same studios there, weren't you?
Right. Well, we were at the well, I guess it would be what is
Kenmar.
Yeah, yes, that's exactly right. Yeah.
That?
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
Well, I had a great history, you know. We did a lot of our shows we did where they did great movies. What was the movie? "Do Not Forsake Me, Oh My Darling, on This Our Wedding Day."
I know the song, but for the life of me, I can't.
Anyway, the Academy Award with Gary Cooper, and where these guys were coming to get him.
Oh, High Noon.
Right, High Noon.
Yeah.
And, we worked in the same. They did High Noon there too.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, your studio. They did.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
One of my favorites. My father, that was like literally his favorite movie. He had a poster on his wall of that movie.
One of my favorites too.
Oh yeah.
I love it. And the director is the one who married Karen Sharp, who played my girlfriend in that episode I told you about where we had to get the cigars.
Yeah. I should know that. I should know who directed that. For the life of me, my brain is just like, I can't think.
We can't.
I know what's going on. What is this? Okay, so here's our next one. This is from Dennis. Dennis says, "Do you know the actor that played Mr. Schwamp on the Andy Griffith Show and Gomer Pyle U.S.M.C.
That's funny. I didn't get to know him till they started featuring him, and then it was unintentional in the beginning. He was just with a crowd, and he'd be there, and then he was in the last episode. Well, let's call him Mr. Schwamp. And but I never actually met him or conversed with him, but he was a character. Never had a line.
He never had a line?
We had people go up to him and say, "Hi, Mr. Schwamp." That's it. Never.
Oh, funny, funny. The other one was, this was just a general one that was sent, is fans. I mean, I heard this from multiple fans. They loved your facial expressions on the show. Not,
I was always known for making faces.
yeah.
That went back to grammar school or elementary school. I used to do an act where I said, "I'll tell you how I look at it."
I like that.
So yeah, I did. I need to revive that next time. I thought about that. Thank you.
Right. Bring it back. Bring
Thank
it
you,
back.
John.
So was that, going back to deliberate, strategy, however you want to put it, were those facial expressions, were those just organically happening, or were you,
Well, I was always a show off. The first time I ever was seen showing off was when I stood on my head in front of the Fox Theater in Richmond, California, and people would come by and throw coins.
oh my gosh.
And I was 4 years old at the time, but I knew smart enough to know I can make a little money. And so then I started making faces and do all the pratfalls and stuff like that.
Wow, that's pretty wild. That's pretty wild. Who were, there's one other question here, but I'm curious about this. Who were your idols when you were a child, as far as from a comic standpoint or even a dramatic standpoint? Who were the actors that you were like, wow, like you really looked up to?
Well, my early favorite was not a comedy actor. My early favorite was Clark Gable.
Oh yeah.
Because he could play a masculine type guy and then cuddle a baby and talk baby talk to her. And I didn't know anybody else, Robert Taylor, all those others, they couldn't do that. Hit me early on. And so I became a Gable fan until, my fun years in high school and stuff like that. Later on, I didn't really have any favorites until later years. Probably my all-time favorite comedian, and I worked with him for several years, was Don Rickles.
Oh, no kidding. No kidding. What was that like working with Don? I mean, my gosh, I regret I never had the opportunity to see him.
He just sat back, and whatever he said, you went along with, because he'd say, "You dumb hockey puck, get out of here." That was his persona, but in real life, he was a delightful. But golly, was he funny! He'd take situations. I remember one situation where he was working in the Sahara Lounge.
Yeah.
And I had a friend tell me that he was going to do the show, and would you like to see Don Rickles? And I said, no. The other guy said, yeah. And he's going to make you laugh, but he's going to be tough. And so, okay. Now, just before he was introduced, they brought in this guy with obviously a terrible body part, not funny.
Yeah, yeah.
So in comes Rickles, and he's on for 45 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And he's putting all these people down, but ignoring this one guy who was, you should have like that. And so we thought, well, he's going to be nice to this guy. At the end of his bit, they introduced him to leave, and he said, "Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, ladies and gentlemen." He walked up the aisle and he stopped by this guy who he ignored the whole time and said, "By the way, nobody notices." Just brought down the house, and including the guy who had the problem. So that was Don Rickles. I mean, you can never get away from his comedy.
Oh, that's funny. That's really funny. I had one last question here that wasn't necessarily related to Gomer Pyle, but somebody wrote in and said, "Were you on Dennis the Menace?"
No.
No, I didn't think you
I
were.
would like to have been.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, with Jay North and yeah.
Yeah, Jay North.
Sure, of course. Yeah. So let's wrap it up. So Ronnie, thanks for being here and doing all the Gomer Pyle
pleasure.
questions.
My son says hello. He's a very close friend of yours, and you guys are both in the business and you're doing well.
Thanks a bunch, Ronnie. Really appreciate it. Yeah. Well, Greg and I will always be close. All right. Yeah, without a doubt. Hey, I owe it to Greg. That's how I met my wife. So there you go.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
You're holding him responsible?
All right. Thanks.
Okay,
Hey,
buddy.
don't forget to hit the subscribe button in the corner of the video. And if you like the video, please hit the like button as well. And while you're here, take a look at some of the other great interviews from anybody from Jerry Mathers to Butch Patrick to Judy Norton. All fantastic. Have a great one.